What's up, guys? We are back and we have Dan Harvey today. He's got a cool award back there if you haven't seen it. Dan and I were connected, and I thought this would be a fun one, a little different than the other ones we've done. So, Dan, yeah, if you want to kick it off with who you are.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I'm Dan Harvey. I co-founded a SaaS company called Passion.io, where we help coaches and creators to launch their own mobile apps. So they're building community courses, gamification, tracking, payments, stuff like that. And yeah, we use a lot of kind of info marketing tactics in our business, and also our customers are creators. So we're pretty familiar with the space.
Yeah, super cool. So, yeah, I mean, I want to zoom all the way out. So, like, are you the techie or do you have like technical? Because I remember we saw your stuff way back, way back. And like it almost, we almost pulled trigger, reached out at that point when we were kind of navigating what to do. When we only sold the info, we had low ticket app, like all this stuff. So it would have been obviously fit the mold a little better. But yeah, let's zoom out. Like, how did this whole thing start? Are you technical?
I'm not technical. I'm the marketing sales guy. My co-founder's much more technical. He's not a developer, but he knows enough to hire a good team. Yeah, we started in 2016 as an agency. So what we used to do is contact what we used to call influencers. They'd be called creators today. And we would say, we identified that people who are earning a bit of money, like let's say 10, 20K a month, with like a crappy funnel and a crappy product, if you applied some basic marketing principles and some paid ads on top, you could dramatically increase how much they would earn. And so we acted kind of like a publishing house, although we called ourselves an agency back then. So we would fly them in to Germany, where I live and my co-founder lives, and we would produce a course. We would build a product. We would do all of the tech, all the customer support, all the marketing, everything. And then we'd do like a 50-50 profit share, basically. And I remember the first few went pretty well. Like the first one was a yoga program. It did like low six figures. The second one was a calisthenics program, did kind of mid six figures. And then I think the third or maybe the fourth one was a fitness creator. We didn't really think it was going to do that well, but she was earning about 10K a month selling DVDs back then. And her process for sales was like, you email her, she replies with a PayPal link, you then pay her, you then email her to say you've paid her. She then asks you for your address. She then sends out like, it was horrible. And she was still earning 10K a month with like $20 DVDs. So we thought maybe there's something there. She shipped us the DVDs. We ripped them just like, and there was only 3 workouts, and we somehow made a 60-day challenge out of that. It was like workout number 1, then 2, then 3. Then on day 4, we're like, what are we going to do? Workout number 2 again, right? Yeah. Like we just did that for 60 days. We spun up a product, and it did $500,000 in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow. And back then, 2016, 2017, 2018, like Facebook marketing was so cheap. We were getting leads, like opt-ins for cents, like a few cents.
Yeah.
So yeah, we scaled that up into, mid sort of 7-figure agency. And then the demand for what we were doing completely outstripped how much we could do of it, because it's like very manual. And so we decided to kind of open up the software that we were powering the whole thing on. And over time that evolved into mainly mobile apps, because that's where the market was going and it was underserved. And yeah, fast forward now, the agency thing doesn't exist anymore. We're fully a SaaS company. We served, tens of thousands of creators, millions of end users. And that's where we are.
Nice. So is it all info coaching? Anybody with info that's a creator, or is it specific to fitness?
Oh, no. The fitness was where we started, but now it's only about 15% of our customers. So it's like every niche you can imagine. Yeah, all across the board.
Very cool. And then you guys own it. I mean, you're the everything, right? You own the processing, you own like all that kind of piece, like everything in the puzzle. And then is it structured as like software, or is it structured as the agency monetization where you can like split profit shares and stuff the same way?
It's a SaaS, pretty much like a SaaS product with info products on top. So we sell info as well, because as you know, creators they need not only the tools, they also need the information and the mindset. So that's the model today. We also have payments, but payments is a smaller piece of it, just because a lot of people have their own payments already. So we don't force people to use our payments, but if they want to, they can. So we make some money there, but the majority of the revenue is SaaS, and then some info / professional services on top. We probably don't monetize the info as much as other, like a pure info business would, because for us, if we can make our customers more successful, they'll retain for longer. And so our incentive is mainly to just make them successful. But we do bolt on, like there's a coaching program on top and there's a done for you build, which again, both of them just came from demand for it. And so we launched it, but that was much more recently.
Cool. So there's like in your world then, like I know in the fitness specific, there's Playbook, right? So Playbook does a version of this where they, create, a lot of these guys are these mainly content, organic focused creators that then just need somewhere to monetize, right? And the MRR engine and all the stuff. And then like pretty simple, if at all, fulfillment, right? So there's WAP that does community and hosting. There's School that does it. There's Playbook that does it in fitness. So like you guys sit as like on strictly mobile.
Yeah, I mean, it's mobile and desktop, but we're very much mobile first. Like we always approach this a little bit like, there was online dating for many years before Tinder came along, right? So you could go on like match.com or whatever. And online dating kind of had a sleazy, weird, like if you can't get a date, then you go online. And then Tinder came along and they made it fun and mobile first and swiping and location based and whatever. And we saw the same opportunity, when we started with the SaaS, this is now 2019, there was Teachable, Kajabi, Thinkific, and they were all very much desktop. They still are. And then later they bolted on like, oh, you can also do an app thing. But we came at it from a mobile first perspective. So we have things like, you can, all of the content you can take offline. You can do voice notes. You can do audio, like a podcast kind of style app. We've got sequences for like fitness and other things. So, and we're just in the process of launching an AI coach as well, which is very much like a mobile first way of building or interacting with an AI version of the creator. So we're in the same space as all of those players, but it's interesting, like when you look at School and Circle, let's say, they don't fundamentally have like dramatically different feature sets, but the user base is very different.
Yeah.
And I think like your vibe attracts your tribe. I think like the School people are just the Hormozy fans, and then you've got like the Circle people tend to be a little bit more, I don't know, just a different crowd, right? And so in that same vein, passion, we seem to attract our own crowd. We don't attract so many of the kind of like make money online guru type people for whatever reason. I wouldn't say we've actively avoided it, but it seems to be much more personal development topics. So fitness is one, but then, things like meditation, cooking, photography, yoga, things like that.
Very cool. And then you said you guys do info products on top of there. So is that like ClickFunnels approach where you guys are selling info products that like are how to use software, like how to basically grow your business inside Passion?
Yeah, we have like info both on the front end and on the back end. On the front end, we heavily modeled ClickFunnels back in when we launched this thing in 2019. We went to Funnel Hacking Live. We saw what was going on. I think it was one of the first times he pitched this 2 Comma Club X coaching, it was called. There's a room of, I think, 3,000 people, and 1,000 of them, or 1,200, bought this $18,000 coaching. And we were like, and this was right at the beginning of our journey of launching Passion. We were like, okay, it's not just about the software, it's about the info. So we then modeled. Do you remember when Russell Brunson sold 3 million in 90 minutes at the 10X conference?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then the most crazy thing he did was like the next day he went on stage and he said to everyone like, yesterday I sold 3 million in 90 minutes. And if you buy today, I'll record a video and show you how I sold to you yesterday. Right? And he recorded that. It was called 10X Secrets. And it was a 3-hour video. 90 minutes was basically him replaying his presentation. And 90 minutes was him jumping in and explaining like what he was doing, why he was doing it. And that 3-hour video, honestly, was like, if there's one piece of content that has built our business, it was that. It was like, I watched it like 4 or 5 times. We built a webinar and then refined it for a long time. It didn't work in the beginning. And then I think it was the 11th webinar, we got our first ever sale. So it was painful in the beginning. And I was staying up till like 3 a.m. because I live in Europe and all the customers are in the US. So I needed to do it later at night. So I was there at like, in my apartment, like between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., trying to give like the presentation of my life. And I didn't even realize a couple of times, like the drop off, we only had like 12 people in there and then they all dropped off. So I'm like doing it to myself, you know? But anyway, we modeled the webinar heavily and refined it and changed it a lot over the years. But that became our, one of our bigger GTM kind of things.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then award on the wall. So then you guys have run a ton of these through, and I think, I don't want to quote for you, but I heard like 70 plus million through this now.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing and completely bootstrapped, right?
We have some investment. We own the majority, but we have some investment. I would say significantly less than most SaaS companies. We have one angel and one VC both of which came on board pretty early, but since then bootstrapped and profitable.
Yeah, it's amazing. Very interesting. So then like, what's the goal of this business model? Most people I talk to, generally speaking, it's like within business, there's like online business. Then within online business, there's like info coaching, SaaS, agency, lead gen, affiliate. And I haven't really talked to a ton of SaaS guys. I WAP guys on, which I guess you could categorize. But so like, what's your target? Theirs is obviously just moonshot and just like up and to the right, and they're crazy fueled. But what are you guys trying to do?
Those guys are crazy. I met them at a conference recently. I think it was one of the first times I remember feeling old. Like these guys they're all like 19 and they live in the office 23 and a half hours a day and stuff like this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Dude, they
like
have a stipend that you get discounted rent if you live at the building that's next door. It's like, and like food credits if you're there for X amount of, like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
They're funny guys. I think they'll do great things, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for us, what was the question? Like, what is our goal?
So what are you guys doing with it? I mean, ClickFunnels. Yeah. I mean,
dude, I really genuinely love what I do. Like, one of the things that I think is the most rewarding thing about building a business is that you get to decide the people you go on that journey with. So we have a team of close to 100 people, and they're all people who I just love hanging out with them and working with. So part of it is building a great company, somewhere that I enjoy working and that I think others enjoy working. We have an employee net promoter score of like 70, which I've only found one company I can find online which is higher, which is HubSpot. I think they've got like 77, but it's like top 0.1% for sure. It's basically the vast majority of people give it 9 or 10 out of 10 as a place to work. I also rate it very highly. I enjoy it a lot. So part of it's that. Part of it is also it's a cool product and it's a fun thing to build. And then, it gives us a good life. Like, I think something we can get into a little bit is, I think building a team is something that a lot of people in the info coaching space don't do particularly well. I know because I've hired from like a lot of the big kind of gurus out there. I've hired team and then heard kind of how things are running, and I'm like, if they didn't have a huge audience, their business would just fall 100%. Apart, right?
100%.
And so building a team, building a product, having a good time, and then maybe an exit down the line. Building in a way that it's got good enterprise value.
Yeah, let's talk about that, the team side of things, because I completely agree. I always say it on here, but a lot of people are like, oh, what offer are you on? What offer are you running? And it's like, for it to go from an offer to a business is one thing. And that's generally like multi-traffic source, multi-XYZ, you know what I mean? Like it's multi-offer, it's however you want to look at it, but it's just getting to a size where it's like an actual business, not just like some cash flow machine. And then when you get there though, comes the people issues. So we're US like almost only. And so we're 140, 150 W2. So like full blown US HR director, like whole thing.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like not necessarily the bottleneck, but like the new learnings and the new skill set development we need when you're managing a manager who has like these layers of that kind of stuff. So you said almost 100 or over 100 team. Like, what does that structure look like where you have info and marketing and whatever because you have that, which is like marketing, sales, fulfillment, however you want to bucket it. And then you have full development team and, CS and fulfillment on software.
Yeah. Yeah, like out of the roughly 100 people, it's about 1/3 product tech, maybe closer to a half product tech, and then a little bit less than a third would be marketing, sales, and then kind of the rest, customer support, operations, finance, HR, whatever. We're globally remote, so we do have people all over the world for us, a mixture of the equivalent of W2, depending on where you are, but like the mixture of employed and freelance. Although the freelancers are working quite a lot for us, if that makes sense. Yeah, and it's a skill set that's it's complex to build a good team. Like, you have to get good at a lot of things, and it also takes a long time because you have to build trust and you have to figure out if people are good. There's lots of dimensions to it, but it's unbelievably rewarding when you nail it, because what you basically have is an army of people working for your interest. And I mean, so I had a baby 4 months ago. My wife had a baby 4 months ago, and I went out of office for 7 weeks. I just wanted to like hang out with her, with the baby. I didn't look at Slack or anything for 7 weeks, and then I got back, and the company was still doing well. There's no fires burning. No one's like, finally you're back. You know, this and that. It's incredible to have that freedom. It takes a long time to build it and everything, but when you get there, it's so rewarding. And what I see in the info space so often is like, people know how to get on the keyboard and make money, but they don't know how to build a proper business that can, you know, survive if they go to sleep, go on vacation, get sick, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I've talked to a handful of people now in this space, and you kind of fall into the bucket in my mind, and just like how you are, mannerisms, how you speak is like a Ravi, a Cole Gordon, as someone who I would put in that category of like really good in their industry, right? Like someone who's like very controlled, someone who's calm, someone who understands what's going on, someone who has delegation, someone who has like scale enterprise thinking. So yeah, it's cool that you guys have built that. And then so work life for you now is, I mean, like, what's your main focus now that you guys are at this size scale?
I get to focus on the cool, like, kind of architecting things, and sometimes that's about hiring. Sometimes it's about de-hiring, let's say, firing people. It can be.
We like to say making them available to the marketplace.
Yeah. But the main thing right now is like new projects, fun, kind of exciting new projects. So right now the main focus for me is this AI coach project. I think the online course industry is already being heavily disrupted by AI, but will be significantly more so disrupted by AI in the future. Because if you think about like the progression from reading a book or going to an event or whatever to online courses, it birthed the industry that you know very well, and so do the people watching. And so people could earn a lot of money by selling something that's quite easy to create, has no marginal cost, and also on the end user side, they can learn a new skill from someone that they admire, and it like totally made sense. With AI though, the barrier to information has never been lower. Like, ChatGPT is like your co-pilot every day. Anything you even for a second think, you just ask and it's there. And so I think the shift that we're betting on, that I think will happen, is a lot to do with for the end user perspective. It's like, okay, I can get instant access to information, but do I trust this information? Because also, there's like 50 ways to skin a cat. So if my question is like, how do I get in better shape? I can ChatGPT it and it'll tell me something, but there's also 50 other answers that could also be correct. And so there's maybe still a perspective that I want, but I don't want to watch a 30-hour online course to find out what their perspective is. So maybe what I want to do is I just want to ask the AI version of that person, what would you do in my situation? So I could ask them questions, I can get feedback. And I still think that there's absolutely a need for a curriculum because what an online course essentially is like, I'm going to take you from A to Z, and I think I know where you are right now, and I think I know where you want to go, and I'm going to create a path from here to there that's going to work for most people. And I still think that people will need to create that, because because with AI, often people don't know what questions to even ask, right? Yeah. Like, so I think having a curriculum and the AI component together is going to be the most powerful way of delivering impact through courses, etc. So that's what we're betting on. And so the thing I'm focused on right now, we have like a mini squad within our company with developers, designers, product manager, uh, a marketer, a CSM, etc. It's like a mini company of like, I think 7 people, and we're building this new arm to the business. So we've got our first paying customers on that, and we're building out that experience, which is really, it's good fun.
Yeah, very cool. Because I always say different people use different names, like digital products, info product,
Yeah.
coaching, consulting. And I always say that's why I'm always like info/coaching, because I really think already the industry, like it has been, is going from where people just buy an info product or course to where it then either phases into coaching for more implementation, more done with you, more done for you in that realm, or like closer to the guru expert, or also like what you're saying for coaching being AI. So they get the personalization because so much of this needs to be personalized. And I'm very interested to hear your take on, because what you just said in there, I completely agree with, which is AI. The biggest thing is like people what they want to ask it or how they're prompting it or that piece
Yeah.
of it. It already has access to all the information. It can almost, I mean, depending on how much you prompt it again, already can give you the personalization layer.
Yeah.
So it's like it can handle that, but is it pulling from source that this expert has? So if you have the expert information and you have their context and their information, like info coaching starts to just go like democratize like crazy because now they can, have personalization to their situation to get the desired result based on the expert experience. So
Yeah, I mean, I would still bet on, and so I get the question a lot about like Lovable, for example. People are like, oh, is Lovable gonna like kill your business? And maybe it will. But I still place value on more niche solutions. And so in that sense, yes, you could prompt ChatGPT or Claude or something. You could say, I want you to behave like whatever, this fitness guru, and I want you to create a curriculum for me for the next 30 days. So you could build out this prompt and it would do something for you, but many people won't do that, right?
Yeah.
And also the way in which it's delivered, I think if you have a team who are focused on one specific use case, like online learning, and making that as effective as possible. So, there are effective ways to learn. And so the AI will be able to share the right thing at the right time. It will do things like, I was actually speaking yesterday to Joseph McClendon III. He's the guy who's always on stage with Tony Robbins. He's been speaking on Tony Robbins' stage for like 35 years. And he was telling me that he has like a framework on how he teaches. It's always like tell, show, try, do. So it's, like explain the thing, show, like give examples, show the thing, get them to try it right there and then do is like schedule it out so you actually take action, right? And so that's like his framework on how to teach, and the AI can either use his framework if it's for him or like other frameworks, but the AI can basically take people from where they are to where they want to be, following the curriculum of that creator. So look, I still believe a lot in those niche solutions, but yeah, it's very possible that in the future it's ChatGPT and it's Claude and it's Lovable, and they're the 3 products that everyone uses for everything. Could happen.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy thought. Are there a lot of people who do coaching on platform for you guys, or is it like majority info product?
How do you define those terms? Like info
I know,
is
right?
scalable and
It's
coaching
hard.
is not, or
Yeah, well, coaching's more so, right? Like group coaching calls or one-to-one coaching calls, or, I view more of that versus like a login access. It's
okay.
generally it's login access. Then a lot of them will have community tied to it. So you can either do questions through there, group coaching, whether it's you or coaches. And then this next layer is like a one-to-one, like, and that's kind of usually the price scale as well, like in that order.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a mixture. I think like one of the misconceptions that we have to educate people on like very often is just because this is an app doesn't mean it's low ticket by default. Like you can do low ticket, but we have, for example, a hairdresser who teaches people how to be more efficient and effective and earn more as a hairdresser, basically. And she has like I think it's a 6K program on there, and so you get login access, but you also get group coaching calls, etc. And she's doing 300K a month for a 6K product on this app. So and we have many more examples like that. So it's not low ticket just because it's an app
Yeah.
inherently. It's just that mobile is, in our opinion, the best way to consume information because that's the
Yeah.
device we're using.
Yeah. And are they native like white label
Yeah.
iOS apps or are they?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
White label, native, iOS, Android, and web. So it's
Nice.
on the desktop as well. Also desktop apps. So yeah, all of it.
Cool. And so at this point, it's basically like they're in there creating their own, like you guys have the whole framework for it, or are you guys deploying and like building it out? So like to my understanding, um, the playbook example, those guys are like they meet you're fully setting up with them a custom setup every single time, and then they're launching it like with you versus logging in and creating your own on top of this like software.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It's much more that you're doing it yourself on top of our software. I think we're probably. I haven't fully researched this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're the company that's deployed the most mobile apps of any individual company.
That's crazy.
Because it's really hard to do. It's not designed to be done on scale. To be honest, in the beginning, when my co-founder said, like, I think we should go mobile, I resisted it for like a year because I said, like, no one is doing this. There's a reason no one's doing it. Apple and Google literally have policies to try and stop people from doing what we wanted to do. Less so now, but back then for sure. Yeah, so it's very hard. So we have a whole, we call them the app submissions team, and there's a whole team that basically help creators through that process of getting the app live, because there's so many elements to it. You got to be like on the right version. There's so many different devices. Android have like 50,000 screen sizes, and they bring out like a screen that folds out like this and it's square, and then people say, oh, there's a bug because it's not working on this square screen, and we're like, fuck me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean we're a fitness company, right? So we have high thousands or mid thousands, I guess, active clients. So we from day one basically, and we sold info first, and we still to this day use Kajabi for info side of things. Community has always been Facebook group because the demo is 40 to 60 years old, and it's just like they're already hanging out there. And then for the actual delivery, again, it was when it was info, it was a Kajabi. It was like the ovens OG up level style thing where it was that. But when we moved to coaching, it's like, where do you have fulfillment that fitness specific has the exercise, the nutrition, the everything you were talking about, right? The logging of all this stuff, the integrations, and we landed on Trainerize, and it is chunky, and you'll see any thread anywhere that's like, oh, it's the worst thing ever, but like it has by far the market share. They got purchased by ABC, and now they're in that kind of holding, supposedly like the smallest version or the smallest holding of all of them. And we have been on this forever track, and this is where now I'm selfishly going to pick your brain a little, but we've been on this forever track that's like, okay, the fulfillment lives there. An info product lives here. You have, like I said, a 40 to 60-year-old person, right, who has like different logins. Billing lives over here. You've got billing. You've got your info product. You've got your CS phone numbers and email. You've got your fulfillment product. And if you launch something else, let's just say I wanted to sell a physical, like bands, let's say, like a physical product. Now you're in Shopify, or like swag, for example. We sell swag on a Shopify. That's its own login and setup. So we're starting to do this. And now we're talking about growing it in these other ways. So it's like, let's fix this. Let's fix this piece. And I am not tech enough. I'm like, can do automations and circles and 5 million zaps a month and this and that, but like to truly build, it's not me. And so we tried to build on top of Trainerize and just do like analytics and all that kind of stuff, and just API everything. API is bad, all of that. So we're migrating. But Trainerize, because when you said that, Trainerize is one of the ones that's a white label app. So your white label have your own version. The next tool that we're moving over to right now, or we're very seriously looking at, is the same way. But again, you can like store all your data in here, or like your fulfillment side. And like if you can't get the stuff out, and then your own data lake, like we're getting to the point now where it's so much volume that we need to like centralize and store all this. I know many, many info coaching people, so I think this will be valuable. Many info coaching people who are starting to run into this issue where it's like they have HubSpot, they have a Google Sheet, they have a Hyros account, they have a whatever, and like it doesn't all connect. So how do you view when people hire tech help, or that's kind of like data help, but tech builds in order to run these things? Or do you build your own softwares to centralize all this so it's not only data, but it's also like forward and customer facing?
Is your fulfillment somewhat personalized? Like each person gets their own plan?
Very much so. But it's like within the context of there. So like, yes, each person will, but it's all within one like delivery mechanism. So like, simple example, let's say there's two different people, they might have two different plans, but you would like swap that through here, through the main. Right. And there's tons of personalization and integrations with like a MyFitnessPal or like a or a wearable or whatever. And there are tools that solve for that. But even if you solve for that portion, then now you store fulfillment and coaching analytics and whatever right there. And then where do you store the recurring billing information and next payment date and next whatever? It's like, okay, that lives in HubSpot, but that lives in here. And where do those marry and connect? And that's just like a big thing we're solving for. It's just like all this data. When you have thousands of them and each one has tens, if not hundreds of fields, it's like it's just like not our speed. So I'm just very interested on what you see for some of these info coaching guys or in general, when it makes sense or doesn't to build your own thing, or do you just continuously, plug and piece things together?
I mean, if like this problem you're describing is like is the most common kind of like scaling problem that I think most companies face. So I think it's like it's a $1 billion solution if you can solve it. Do you know the VShred guys?
I don't personally know them, but yeah, of course we've seen all their stuff and I've heard insane numbers.
Yeah, I've met them a couple of times. I know their numbers, but that's probably one of those NDA things I can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard about something talking about 300 and 400 million on a public interview. So I think
okay, then
I think we're good to say those.
That's kind of the numbers. So, but they have kind of the same problem as you can imagine because they have high ticket coaching on scale as well, and I think they ended up building their own thing, but also like building your own thing isn't just like, okay, now all the problems are solved.
Yeah.
Now what you're actually doing is you're taking on all of the problems that all of those companies that you were previously paying were thinking about for you, right? So if you build your own Trainerize, you're now taking on all of Trainerize's problems and HubSpot and Stripe and whatever. So it doesn't solve anything, but it's also like why running a 8-9 figure business is really hard, right?
Yeah.
So it's I wish I had the solution for you.
Well, like even those guys, it's so someone sent me something the other day, and I clicked on their site, or like I got one of their whatever it was, and it's like you click on swag and it's like over on some Shopify with some other domain.
Yeah.
You click on this, it's on like some other domain. It's like I can't even imagine. And now we're talking about payments at scale because knock on wood with everything, but Stripe has its reputation, and we've been all good there, and life's good. But like payment stacks, then everyone goes to a checkout champ, then you have multiple mids, then you have payment loggers. Like you start to get into that world, and you see all the names that they work with. And like, if you want a life hack for trying to find the biggest info coaching companies or e-com or direct response is probably a better way to even say that. It's like Performance Golf. It's like VShred. It's like all of those guys that do 200, 300, 400 and are just quietly mobbing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's at a certain point, you have a full data team and or dev. And yeah, that's where my brain's been for like the last like 30 days, just like doing all these demos, talking to all these different vendors, like what is the best way to attack this? Oh, you get down this far down this road, and then it's like come back to this side because wait, now that takes up 30% of what this was going to handle, and like where does it live?
Do you have what does your team look like in terms? I mean, you don't have to share this, I guess, publicly, but do you feel like you have a team who've kind of been there, done that before
within this piece of it?
Yeah, like operationally, like operations, tech, data. Like you're at a scale now. It sounds to me. Do you mind sharing like what sort of revenue you're at? I don't know.
Yeah, I was just talking about it because we have a public bet with some guys where we're in a bet to do 5 million a month back to back. So we hit it last month. So
way, congrats. That's ace.
But yeah,
that's amazing. I think you're at a level of scale where it probably makes sense to invest in some talent that comes from like real business, like we're kind of in this like info world, but people who've built out things at places like HubSpot and others. So that's probably what, I don't know. Do you have people on your team who've kind of been there, done that, or are you
not fully? And then as info coaching does, it's like there's always an info coaching vendor or someone who does XYZ specifically for info coaching, and we always lean there because it's like they understand the business model, but do they have the full experience and prowess of someone who comes from a HubSpot? Like no. So
the thing is that there are not enough info coaching businesses at your level of scale for there to be an industry to solve your problems. Yeah, that's my take on it. I think there are companies in other spaces where 60 million a year is like kind of middle, right? So info coaching is just, yeah. So I don't know. I think I would probably explore talent from elsewhere, and they've built out something similar and they have to learn the business model, but it's not that hard,
Yeah.
right? It's like not that, they'll need to learn some things about how payments are maybe different, and the customer life cycle is different, marketing is different, whatever. But the fundamentals of like, we have a very complex technical system with data flowing everywhere and tons of different tooling and whatever. I have a friend who runs a successful ecom supplement company, and she just hired, I think his title is managing director, but he'd come from a bigger supplement company. He'd built out operations and tech and data and all this stuff, and they just reached a level of scale. And my friend that runs this business, she's unbelievably smart. She comes from a great background, etc. But he came in and he went like, "This is a mess,"
Yeah.
and has in the last 6 months done amazing work to kind of professionalize what they're doing, and they just reached that stage where that was required. So
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, I mean, we're there, right, with so many of these pieces, and up until this last round of C-suite, we always hired people who had either been like every time we always joke, but every time we hit like a record month, like last month, we're like, oh, like all of our PR, like it's the best any of us have ever done, like across the company. So we just got a chief of sales that's done, upwards of 12, I think it was 10 or 12 million a month on the phone. So it's like, cool. He knows the roadmap a lot better. And like in tech world, you said it earlier, but you're like, yeah, like I got, a lot of these guys can know how to like click the key. And I always say click the keys. And up until 4 weeks ago, I did all the marketing tech builds. Now we have an amazing marketing tech that's done like much larger projects, but
great.
that back end systems, tech, data, all of that, and then just like execution side and ops. So yeah, it's fun. They're fun problems. They're just different problems, right? It's like just different skill set stacking you have to get to in order to unlock these next pieces, which is sourcing, hiring, managing, finding the right people. But
yeah.
yeah,
And what I think is also difficult at that point is you're hiring people for a job that you don't know how to do. So how do you evaluate if someone is good?
yeah,
Because so many people will say all kinds of words that sound good, but often people, in my experience, quite often people who've come from Google and Microsoft and Facebook and all these things, like they come from these amazing companies. They're saying all these words you don't understand, and you think it sounds really smart, but they're actually just like, what they're really good at is existing within a highly political environment and like saying enough that they kind of justify their really big salary, and that's kind of all they're good at. And then they come into a company like ours, where it's much more bootstrapped, and it's much more like, no, you have to actually do the thing and create impact and lead by example and all these things. And so I've made so many mistakes on the hiring side, and trying to always get better at identifying who really is good.
Yeah.
And so spending more time in recruitment, and then if they're not good, knowing that quickly and removing them quickly. But it's difficult because you're hiring for a role that you're hiring because you're not good at that role, and you need someone who knows how to do it.
Yeah, I just had a director of finance reach out from a company was much larger in our space, and I got on with them, and I was like 30 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost done with the context part. Like the interview was like flipped. I'm like, listen, like here's because you need to understand what's happening here, not like, can you do it? I know you can do it, which was a cool thing, right? It's like, I know you can do the role, but like, here's where we're currently sitting on, here's how we're thinking about it. And then I just kept saying over and over again, I'm like, the person I hire in, and if that's you, is a builder. It's not, oh, you're going to come in and then have two people under you who are going to like do that. I'm like, no. Like not all, like in the future state. And yes, if we're 3 times the size, of course, like I understand that. But in current state, I need somebody who's like in it with us, who's building. And I only understand exactly what you said. I only understand this much of it. And like, I need you to understand this much of it and just key me in. And like, that would be great. So
that's, that's another thing that happens quite often. We've hired senior people from big companies, and what I realized at some point, which should be obvious actually in hindsight, is they were quite often hired once the company was already big, once the systems were already in place and the team and all this stuff. And really all they are at that point is kind of a high level steward of like resource allocation and presenting to the board and whatever. And then they join your company and you say like, solve this problem, and they've never done it before.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's difficult because they have to know the journey. They have to be further down the line, but they have to be hands-on enough that they can do it themselves. Yeah, that's why you hear over and over again from entrepreneurs further down the line that they spend 80% of their time hiring. It's because it's really hard to find the right people, and the leverage of finding an A player is so huge that it makes total sense to invest that time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Interesting. Where do you, I mean, you're so sharp with this stuff though, and like clearly you guys have done great like with it, and I'm sure trial and tribulation, but like what do you, I've been kind of trying to figure out, I see all these books around and like these are a long 10 years of collection or more now, but
No.
what do you, or who do you focus on that has that kind of down? Like who do you learn from that has that piece down in your mind, whether that's online, YouTube videos, books, people literally like that?
That's a good one. I mean, there's high level stuff like Principles by Ray Dalio, which is like almost teaching you how to think. So there's kind of stuff like that. Then when there's like a specific problem I want to solve, like in hiring, there's a good book called Who. In leadership, there's a book called Crucial Conversations, which I think is excellent. I think everyone should read. I think like conversations, like things that are left unsaid is one of the biggest killers of any relationship, professional or personal. We've obviously got Hormozy is doing amazing things. I think quite often I watch people also from the perspective of like that kind of watching what they're doing rather than what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so real. That is so real.
Yeah. I've heard it from friends who work in the movie industry. Like once they've been in it for a few years, you can't watch a movie the same way anymore. You're only looking at how it's made and where the camera was, and that's probably a green screen, and that was probably a stuntman and whatever. And it's the same with the info world. It's like you can't just go through a funnel anymore. You're like always analyzing it. I don't know if there's like a specific area that might help me answer the question better, but different people for different things.
Yeah, like for example, like I was like, okay, cool. I just lived in a cave for the last 10 years and I'm going to start making YouTube videos every single day. I'm going to like find talent. I'm going to find friends. I'm going to find opportunities. Like, let's do this. And I started doing that. And then real quick got to the point where I was like crazy, like bouncing around left and right, trying to do a video, trying to run the company, trying to have a personal life, and like basically lit the personal life portion on fire for like months and months and months.
Right.
Made a video every day. So I went on this journey to be like, who can I find that at least their public image, because if I don't personally know them, which I didn't personally know anyone that was in our world that was like working like this and had a good personal life. And I landed on like a Dan Martell, which I'd already consumed some of his stuff, but I was like, if I could pick someone who has essentially like my version of a dream life that you can visually see from an outside, just from what he shares, it's like he looks like somebody who lives through those principles. And so then I just went on like a crazy, let's just consume everything Dan Martell has. And, that was my example of that. Right. But now I'm trying to do the same thing because I'm like, okay, cool. I solved for that portion, at least a little. It's like I prioritize X section. I just make sure that I plan ahead for all the personal stuff and I'm just show up there, no phone, no whatever. And I like did the 80-20 to make it so I'm like, okay, there. Yeah. Continuous work. Now I'm like, how do I do exactly what you're saying, which is like how do we hire a team? How do I then not message in channels or chats or whatever and micromanage or what feels like, constantly increased pressure of speed and delivery? Yeah. So like, how do you find, manage, source all of the right team and live by that is like where my current focus is.
Yeah. So quickly on the life side, I mean, it's the obvious answer, but I love Tony Robbins. I've been to a couple of his events. There are people who like just go to his events like all the time, and I think those people usually haven't understood what it's about. But yeah, I love that man. I think he's done incredible work, and one of the things I learned from him is that businesses are always limited by the psychology of the leadership, and so like always working on your own psychology, because I've been in mastermind rooms where I'm like, this person's business is 10 times my size, but I'm not convinced that they're 10 times better. So what do they see that I don't? And like, what are my blind spots? Because quite often I can see their flaws so obviously, and I'm like, how are you so successful and so flawed? And then I'm like, okay, clearly I'm seriously flawed in ways I can't even see, because otherwise I would be, right? So working on your own psychology all the time, I think is extremely powerful. And then I'm just looking through my Audible here because I listen to a lot of audiobooks to share like the stuff that the hard thing about hard things, Ben Horowitz. That's an
Yep.
excellent book. Good to Great, Jim Collins.
Yep. I
Um,
gotta just revisit all these. Like I'm like good to great. I have like Beck Collins. Like I can see
yeah,
him over here.
yeah, exactly. Um, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with Why, Simon Sinek. Story Brand, Donald Miller. Atomic Habits. Not all of these are about hiring, of course. The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. That's a great book. His name is Patrick
Is that the one
Lencioni.
where it's like a fiction, a business fiction? Yeah, I listened to that one on Audible. That was a good one.
It's great. Um, Rocket Fuel is good. I definitely in my like earlier in my career, I definitely fell in the trap of reading a book, becoming like transfixed about this principle of like this way of seeing the world, and then like implementing it like by the letter, 100%. And we definitely made some big mistakes doing that. There's a book called Reinventing Organizations, which the whole premise is there is no hierarchy in a company in the type of company that they're creating. They argue that there's organizations have kind of evolved, and the different evolutions have different colors. And there's the typical one that we would know is orange, which is a pyramid structure, right? Hierarchy. They argue that there's a next evolution called teal, where it's where the hierarchies are organic, and different topics hierarchies work differently because different people are expert in different things, and actually companies are just way more successful if you don't have like traditional pyramid shaped leadership. Luckily, we were only like 20 people when we implemented it, but we implemented it like 100%, and it was chaos. It was chaos.
It's good.
It was chaos. Most people hated it. Actually, we had shit like you can decide your own salary. Like, how do you implement that? It's ridiculous. So so I'm much more now into like reading a book and then like taking
Yeah, conceptualizing portions, not
exactly
just
yeah.
When you said you read Rocket Fuel, so do you guys, you and your business partner, co-founder, do you guys feel like you sit in certain seats on that, integrator versus visionary?
That's actually an example of like one that we read and then we hired, like, again, implemented it by the letter, and we hired someone. And what we learned, because we both felt more on the visionary side to some extent. My co-founder's more visionary than I am. I'm more kind of in between. We hired someone, but it wasn't the right fit, basically, and it didn't work out. I would say now our head of operations is the most like that. And I do so much appreciate her in the company, because there are so many things running a company that I personally hate.
Mhm.
So like, I don't know, some compliance thing about a cookie consent banner pop up in this country or that thing, or some lawsuit where someone, I don't know, just like all this stuff that is not contributing, in my opinion, any value. It's not building any asset of any kind. It's just kind of the BS that comes with running a business. And our head of ops loves all of that stuff and is so great at all that stuff. She's great at building. You talked earlier about having like, 100 plus W2s. There's so much, you said HR, like there's so much complexity that goes into that, even down to like, how do we compensate people? How do we do raises? How do we do performance management?
Yeah.
How do we do performance improvement plans? How do we fire people? Like there's all of this stuff, and it all at a certain level of scale, which I think we're both into, you do have to have some systems around that stuff. And I don't find it particularly fun. So we do have someone who's kind of in that integrator seat, but it's not a co-founder per se, but she's definitely running a good portion of the business.
Yeah. Yeah, we run on like a lean EOS style. So like all the meeting cadence are like level 10 focused, where it's, the classic like segue. And then, we are attempting to build off this IDS board, but it's almost like, because it's so hybrid, that it's not being followed enough that it can actually be implemented and used. But we do that. And then I'm definitely integrator style. more like 90 versus
Oh,
10.
really?
Mary, oh yeah, like I'm in it. I'm a co-owner, not a co-founder. So they started it, and it was like a 30K a month fitness app, and
Yeah.
then came in, and then we decided to go full info product, like over the phones. Became an owner right before that, and then went from there and scaled up the info product. Then moved to coaching and started doing bigger size.
What did
But
you do before that?
me as an individual,
Mm,
every random digital marketing course thing around. Like
yeah.
I was, yeah, like joke that I had like all the charisma and confidence and all this stuff, and I had absolutely no skill. And then I went and flipped the complete other direction. And it was just like hide, sit in the cave, just like work and just take every course, watch every YouTube video. I seriously like the most of the people I've seen your stuff, like I know exactly, your website, like everything, because I just was on this insane consumption track. That's like every Hormozy thing, every Iman thing, every Cole
Yeah.
Gordon thing, every in that realm, plus ecom, plus SaaS, plus lead gen, plus affiliate.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a lot of learning, and then to the point where I was like learning too much and not implementing. And then this was
Mm,
the outlet. This was the outlet of like we can build and learn, and like that's when I learned about the feedback loop of instead of just learning something, learn it for the specific next problem that we were having. And it's
yeah.
like, oh, how to build this one thing. Okay, cool. We get a course for that thing. I learn it, and I'm literally building it with it like open here and over here. And that was my unlock to like iterate quickly,
Yeah.
like real
You,
quick. So
you remind me a lot of actually the guy who introduced us, Sam Sorter.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
how you know him, but he's that guy who just consumes everything, and he's super smart, and he's doing amazing things. Um, I think like I'm convinced there's a business model, although I haven't quite figured out what it is yet, which is connecting, because there's people like you and Sam Sorter in the world who are unbelievable operators and have the potential to build super successful businesses, and then you have a lot of people like your like the co-founders of your
yeah.
business, like the individual that Sam is working with. I think we can say that, can we?
I don't know. I don't know now. Not the new one. I don't think. Maybe.
Okay. So there's a celebrity that Sam is kind of behind the info business. Um, so there's and so I've had people come across my desk where I've looked at their KPIs, and it's the kind of person that I would have jumped on in 2016 and said, like, let's work together, but we can't do that anymore. We don't have the capacity or focus. And I've found people like you in my network, and I've introduced them, and
Mhm.
then I've watched them make millions of dollars together.
Yeah.
And I've done that now 3 times. And I'm seeing like these businesses go from like 10, 20K a month to like multi-millions.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's definitely a business model here, because the high potential creators and the high potential operators, these two, it's definitely like a 1+1=10 kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. No, 100%. I always say, so I met him at Jeremy Haynes's mastermind. So he has the, $1 million months. Like he's that guy, very call funnel heavy, high ticket. But I met him there, and I literally said it while I was there. But the business model that a lot of people do, they have like growth operators. And what a growth operator mostly is you take an expert and you add a marketer to it that understands like these pieces of it, and you can go from. So then that's what this was. Like the two co-founders was the marketer and the expert, the fitness pro and the person who understood digital marketing, basically packaged everything, did the copy, created the offer, ran the ads, did that. But then my experience is it only gets to X size and scale before you need the operator role, whether that's a person or it's another skill that someone learns, because one person can be the expert, the operator, and the marketer. But when you bolt on that operator, that's, in my opinion, the offer to business side of things, because it's structure, it's cadence, it's one-off projects, it's recurring, it's scale, it's hiring, it's like doing all those things. But I completely agree. Like I have so many opportunities that flow in, and I'm like, oh, that sounds so exciting, but like, no, because I'll get distracted. So I have a bunch of these guys that I meet at, a Jeremy event or something that are literally growth operators. They have 7 offers. And in my opinion, none of them get very as large as 1 or 2 could, but
Yeah, that's the
that's
thing.
beside the point. But yeah, like if someone bolted on, like that's what my situation was. You could call it growth operating, you call it whatever you want, but I got so embedded in it that now it's larger than it was, and get a lot of upside from that.
Yeah.
And if someone was to just do that versus have 5 or 10 or whatever of them that they like growth operate, it would be better.
I 100% agree. I don't understand. I almost see like the more that people have, the worse
Yeah,
the combined
for sure.
total of their things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see people like pretty talented who are working on 20 offers, and each of them are doing like 1,000 a month or something. I'm like, you would make so much more if you
So
just did
much.
one thing. And I think
Yeah.
you're a great example of that.
Yeah. I'm trying right now to figure out what the next iteration is. Because it's just we're gonna grow this, and I already know the added business lines and the added growth, or just the beauty of this business model is sometimes just more same, right? It's
Yeah.
more availability on a sales team, which means more ads, which means more customers on the back, which means more retention, and like it just builds up. And then
Yeah.
there's like additional lines. But I do want to get more involved now in info coaching land, and I'm going to, where it doesn't distract from the main business. I think it can be a multiplier if done correctly. So like conversations like this, like, oh, I have stuff that I took away from this, but there's ways to also like compensate for that, as long as it's not deployment and like actually operating the business. But
What do
you
you,
know,
what
ear
do
to
you
the
mean
wall.
by that? Like, I'm curious about your motivation building up this channel, actually, and like, tell me how you're thinking about, yeah, that side of things, because you could have stayed in the shadows, right?
Yeah, ours was mainly for me, it was the talent side of things. And that's not even true. Mainly it was the network. Mainly it was the fact that I consumed all these people's content. I had no one to talk to about it. I, was boring the girlfriend, friend, family circle because this is all I do all day. And then all I want to talk about when I'm done with it. And I didn't even have like digital version of that. We're like chats. I wasn't in any groups. We weren't paying for any masterminds. So like I wasn't even in world where I could talk about it. So instead of doing that, I bought Emon's thing and paid for Quantum, which in consulting.com, which at the time was 8-figure license. And it was like how to do all this stuff and like make all these professional videos and like organic machine for info business. And instead I was just like, I'm just going to record looms. And so I just made videos every day that were loom videos. And then next thing you know, speed track through this, but people just started coming that were doing 500K, that were doing 2 million a month, that were doing 300K a month, like all over the board. And I just started like building up this network of friends on X and YouTube, as like X is the communication on top of the YouTube videos. It's like the subscriber follower is literally like this. They're
Mm,
like identical.
mm,
And so it's offered that a lot. So friends, network, something comes up and I'm interested. Oh, we want to launch webinar funnels. I can now make one post and I can get access to 15 people that either give links or know how to run them or have scripts or something. It's like, okay, instant access. And then same thing with talent. You need to hire a sales manager, make a post. I get 250 applicants now. The company has some awareness around it. And then I did put on there, and in the beginning of every video, I said, I want talent, opportunities, and network. And talent and network I use. Opportunities came in a wave, like
mm,
way too many opportunities, and I denied all of them. So
mm.
I said no to any business deal. I said no to any consulting for an hour or for a month or whatever. I said no to all of it. And now I'm trying to like think through how I would want to go about it. That is like dream state for me, but also basically just dream state for me. So like in a way that's valuable. I refuse to just like take 10K for an hour or 10K for a month or whatever, and then not have that person get like 100K, 500K in value. And I know me, and I like would not sleep at night until they did. So my whole thing is like, how can I build some fulfillment model, monetization model where those both work in a good way?
You mean on the info side for yeah, okay, go ahead.
For me, basically. So like, I'm
Yeah,
not going to create some course. I'm not going to run some ad. I'm not going to
yeah,
do some group. Like, I don't want to do that, but I
yeah,
would be willing to like partner with someone. I would be willing to I like spending the time this way. So
yeah,
as long as the fulfillment method was this, but the
yeah.
monetization method was not like, oh, the 10K for this hour and like try and implement it. As long as it's like, I like performance based and I like time, or like essentially like consulting style, instead of like, oh, cool, let me go deploy my copywriter, my marketing tech, my whatever to like fix your stuff. It's like, no, 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 no. I don't want to mix bags and have all that. So I'm just dancing that line right now.
Mm. I think the what you're doing, which is creating content, which is building an audience of people who are spending a lot of time with you and therefore building a lot of trust with you, is a superpower.
Yeah.
Like the people who I know personally, especially who've got big audiences. I mean, it's called fame brain. It's literally like when you interact with someone who you've heard of, spent a lot of time with, etc. You don't think in the same way. You're way less discerning. Like
Yeah.
there's all these things, and so building a huge amount of trust on scale with people with money, which is why I think it's also smart that you're targeting this at like advanced people, not beginners. Yeah, is great.
Yeah.
I've had it where so recently a celebrity joined our platform and they'd actually attended one of my webinars, which is funny because I didn't think that it would kind of appeal to someone like that. But anyway, they watched the full webinar and then they watched some of my videos and whatever. And then I saw they'd joined Passion. They'd actually joined our highest tier, like done for you thing. And my team like pinged me and said, oh, this person just joined. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Let me jump on a call with them. And when I spoke to them, it was like they were meeting a celebrity, like meeting me, right? Because they'd watched all this content from me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and the difference in that dynamic between that and like them having never heard of me and them being the celebrity was so like it just levels the playing field so much that yeah, on a psychology level, it's super powerful. So it's a long way of saying I think what you're doing is really smart.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just such an introvert, and Jeremy invited me to that mastermind, and I went, and I've been to a couple before, and like walked in the room and been the person in the corner, and like I don't really like that kind of stuff, and like no ego, no whatever, but it was like everybody had watched a video, everybody, 80% of the room knew who I was, introducing themselves, something. It was cool in that way, and it was also like a nice way, I think, to like skip the small talk. Like we just got straight into it. It was like, here's the business, here's what's going on. What do you think about this? And I was like, all I want to do is talk about that. That's all I want to talk about. So I loved it. So dude, this was great. I have a hard stop a couple minutes ago, but this was fantastic. Where do people find you? Passion.io, yeah?
Passion.io is the company. I'm on Instagram, passion.dan. Yeah, you'll find me if you search for my name, Passion Dan or Dan Harvey.
Yeah, super smart. So again, I would 100% categorize and put you in that bucket, whether you want to be in there or not. But you are calm, collected, like know your shit, and that's cool. I talk to a lot of people now from this stuff, and different people stand out, and this was fantastic.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, 100%. Talk soon.